We depend on the ocean for food, for regulating our climate, and for a whole host of ecosystem services that keep us alive, and yet we keep trashing it, overfishing it, and now possibly boiling it. Hey there, welcome to Life Noggin. Climate change is killing the ocean. This is not good. Our oceans have absorbed about 90% of the excess heat we humans have put out since the Industrial Revolution. Since the 1970s, we've been adding 4.5 Hiroshima atomic bombs of heat to the ocean every second. Because of this, average sea surface temperatures are now about 1 degree higher than they were in 1900. And this extra heat is causing some serious problems. One of the most well-known effects of climate change on the ocean is coral bleaching. As water temperatures rise, corals expel the algae living in their tissues, which causes them to turn white or lose their color altogether. This doesn't kill the coral right away, but without the algae that give them food through photosynthesis, corals can starve. Already, scientists estimate that between 1980 and 2016, we lost half of all coral reefs worldwide. If global average temperatures increase by another 2 degrees Celsius, scientists predict that we could lose up to 70 to 90% of the world's shallow water coral reefs. Warmer waters also mean less oxygen. As water temperature increases, its ability to hold oxygen decreases. This means that the amount of dissolved oxygen in seawater could drop by as much as 40% by the end of the century. Fish like tuna, cod, and salmon need lots of oxygen and hang out near the surface where there's more of it. But as the ocean warms and the amount of surface oxygen decreases, these fish may be forced to move to deeper waters where it's colder and more oxygen-rich. This will impact the fish populations that humans rely on for food and could also harm other marine animals that need lots of oxygen, like whales and dolphins. In fact, low oxygen levels may already be responsible for massive die-offs of marine organisms like sea stars and sea urchins. But the problem goes beyond the lack of oxygen. Warm waters also mean that the ocean is more likely to experience harmful algal blooms. These blooms, also known as red tides, are caused by microscopic algae called phytoplankton. When conditions are just right, these tiny plants can multiply rapidly, creating an algal bloom that can wreak havoc on coastal ecosystems. During these blooms, tons of algae accumulate in the water, blocking sunlight from reaching the plants below, killing them and causing massive die-offs of fish. The algae themselves often die and decompose soon after, which leads to even more fish deaths from lack of oxygen. Blooms also produce toxins that can poison fish and make their way up the food chain, sickening or killing marine mammals and even humans who eat contaminated seafood. Harmful algal blooms have already caused widespread environmental and economic damage around the world, and scientists expect that climate change will lead to more frequent and intense blooms in the future. The warming ocean is also causing some species to move further toward the poles in search of cooler temperatures. For example, according to a 2013 study published in the journal Nature Climate Change, between 1973 and 2003, 53% of fish species shifted their geographic ranges toward the poles by an average of about 2.4 miles per decade. This has led to a decline in the abundance of fish at higher latitudes and an increase in the abundance of fish at lower latitudes. This process is happening so quickly that many species are unable to adapt, such as those with specific habitat requirements or those that need cold temperatures to survive. It can also cause problems for humans who rely on fish as a food source. For example, declining fish populations have already led to major fisheries collapses around the world, including the Grand Banks of Newfoundland, once the world's largest fish-producing region, and the once abundant cod population has declined by more than 90% since the 1960s. As if that wasn't enough, warmer ocean temperatures are also leading to sea levels rising. That's because warmer water takes up more space than colder water. Between 1971 and 2010, the ocean's volume increased by 61,000 cubic kilometers per year due to melting glaciers and ice sheets and thermal expansion. This is causing sea levels to rise at an average rate of about 3 millimeters per year, which may seem small, but is actually more than twice the rate of the 20th century as a whole. This causes more flooding, erosion, and storm surges along coastlines, putting people and infrastructure at risk. Low-lying islands and coastal communities are particularly vulnerable to rising sea levels and face the very real possibility of being completely submerged in the near future. But wait, there's more. All of this is occurring while the ocean is getting more acidic. That's because when the ocean absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it becomes more acidic. Since the Industrial Revolution, the pH of the ocean has dropped from about 8.2 to 8.1, a 30% increase in acidity. This may not sound like much, but it's actually a huge change. For example, between 2015 and 2019, the Southern Ocean near Antarctica saw a 60% increase in acidity. As the ocean continues to absorb more CO2 from the atmosphere, it will become even more acidic. Scientists predict that by the end of the century, the ocean could be 150 more acidic than it was in 1990. And this is really bad news for any marine organism with a shell or skeleton made of calcium carbonate, like corals, clams, oysters, sea urchins, and plankton. When the ocean is more acidic, it's harder for these animals to build and maintain their shells and skeletons. That's because in more acidic environments, there's less carbonate ions available for these organisms to use as building blocks. This makes shells and skeletons weaker and more likely to dissolve. So as the ocean becomes more acidic, we could see mass die-offs of these organisms, which would have ripple effects throughout the entire marine ecosystem. For example, a 2016 study published in the journal Science showed that increased acidity could cause a collapse in the abundance of shelled organisms, such as corals, oysters, and clams, by as much as 90%. This would devastate the fisheries that rely on these organisms and the millions of people who depend on them for food. It would also have huge impacts on the tourism and recreation industries, which rely on healthy coral reefs and other marine ecosystems. The ocean is in big trouble, and it's our fault. But it's not too late to turn things around. We need to take action to reduce our carbon footprint and protect the ocean from further damage. This means transitioning to clean energy sources, reducing our consumption of fossil fuels, and protecting and restoring coastal ecosystems like mangroves and seagrass beds. These ecosystems help protect coastlines from storms and flooding, provide habitat for fish and other marine life, and help remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. In addition to these measures, we also need to improve fisheries management to ensure that fish populations are able to recover and thrive. This includes setting catch limits, creating marine protected areas, and reducing pollution in our oceans. By taking these steps, we can help protect the ocean and ensure that it's healthy for generations to come. So, what can you do to help? Well, start by educating yourself about the issues facing the ocean and what you can do to make a difference. You can also support organizations that are working to protect the ocean and help scientists learn more about what's going on in our waters. You can also make changes in your own life to reduce your carbon footprint, such as using public transportation, reducing your energy consumption at home, and recycling. Every little bit helps. The ocean is a vital part of our planet, and we need to do everything we can to protect it. By working together, we can ensure that our oceans remain healthy and vibrant for generations to come. Now, if you liked learning about all of this stuff, then you're going to love our new course, Crash Course Geography. With it, you'll explore how the physical processes and human impacts that shape our planet. You'll travel through landscapes, learn about land use, and see how maps are made and why they matter. Plus, there are tons of interactive activities and quizzes to help you learn and review. And best of all, you can get started right away with no registration required. That's right, you can start learning with Crash Course Geography today. Thanks for watching this episode of Life Noggin. Don't forget to keep on thinking.